Hello everybody. In this screencast, we're going to implement our first or include our first table view into our app. So we started with the storyboard. There's nothing inside the storyboard. It's a fresh project. I'll go ahead and add a table view. So I'll just search and add. I'm not going to add a table view controller. Table view controller actually adds a whole new view controller that's capable of supporting a table and so on. We'll talk about it in a separate video. Okay. I just want to add a table view, which is the table view component, into my view controller. So I'll do that. So let's say we add it. Let's make it take the whole screen. Okay, here it is. Just adding some simple constraints. Okay, so I added it to the screen. All right, so I have my table view. Now I need, so you can see here, this is my view controller. The view controller is the view controller class, and then I have a table view inside it. Okay, so now if we go to the class for the table view controller, I'll just add a reference to the table view. Okay, I'm just adding an outlet to my table view. Okay, and let's go back to the view controller. Now, as I indicated before, we would like that this table view needs to specify two delegates. One of them is the data source, the other one is the table view delegate. So how do we do that? I will select the table view, and then on the left here, I'll just go to the arrow. I could see what its outlet. Its data source is connected to the view controller, and then this data source also I will connect it to the view controller. So in that case, we are specifying that this table view, its data source is this view controller, and its delegate is also this view controller. All right. So now, because the delegate is going to be the view controller needs to implement these two delegates. One of them is the UITableView delegate, and the other one is the UITableView data source. Okay. So now we need to implement these two controllers. Okay, so now it's not happy because we promised to implement them, and these delegates have some required methods. So I click here, I'll add the required methods, and one of the required methods is table view number of sections. Okay, so let's say we will have, let's say var, I'll say colors equal, and it will have some colors. I want to specify some colors. Okay, so I'm going to say red, green, yellow, blue, and so on. So these are the colors. Okay, so basically I would like the number of sections, number of row in section. So this method for the delegate, number of rows in section. So basically I can also implement these delegates in a different way. What I could do is I could just say, and so that you could see which methods correspond to which delegates. So let's say I'll delete this. I'll delete this also. I'll delete all of that. I'll keep the colors. Okay, I'll implement the delegates in a little bit different way. I could say extension to view controller, and the extension is going to be to implementing the class called UITableView data source. Okay, I could do also extension view controller UI delegate. Okay, so basically you could see here that to extend the view controller, it does not conform to this protocol, and you can add the stubs, and you could see that these stubs belong to this protocol. Okay, cool. So now here the first one is the number of rows in section. Okay, so now basically the number of rows in section, we will say that the number of rows is colors return colors dot count. So I'm just, the number of colors that we have is the number of rows. Okay, now here this method is whenever the table view is going to draw a new row, it's gonna call this method, and it's going to ask it, hey hey delegate, give me a cell, which is the UITableView cell to draw. Okay, so to do this, we need to return a table view cell. Okay, so to do that, let's just before we implement this method, let's go back to the storyboard. Okay, Now inside the storyboard, there is no tables that are, there is no cells that are associated with this table view. So what I will do is I'll go here and I will add a table view cell. Okay, just add a default one. And I'll go here. This is the cell. You could see here, I'm clicking on the cell on the left here. And I'll give it an identifier. I'll call it my cell. Give it some name. Okay, this identifier is very important. This is the identifier that you will use to retrieve this cell. Okay, so I'll have this my cell. Okay, go back to the code. Now here, you need to respond back by a cell. Okay, so now to do that, all you have to do is just say let cell equals table view dot dq reusable cell with identifier, and I'll just pass it the name of the cell which we just created and the index path, which is a parameter that's coming in through that method. You could see there is an index path and the table view, and I'll just return this cell. So that's the default cell. This is the cell we just created. It's an empty cell. It's the default one. And if you see here, this cell dot, it has a label, a text label by default. Okay, I'll say hello. I'll just say that. Okay, so basically now all what we're going to do is that it's going to draw four rows, and then each row is just going to say hello. It's not going to show the colors. We'll see the colors in a little bit. Okay, run this to see if everything is wired correctly. Now when you run it, it's going to show a table view that has four. Okay, here it is. It has 4 columns and it's all saying 4 rows, and it's all saying hello. Interesting. Now instead of saying hello, I wanted to show my colors. So what I would do is, okay, that's the cell, right? Now I'll guess I need to retrieve the color, right? Okay, say let color equals colors, which is the array, and then I'll use the index path dot, you see there is row. Yeah, I'll get it based on the row, right? And then instead of that, I'll just say the color. So basically I can retrieve from the array colors, the color that I'd like to draw based on the index path. You see, it's the index path is indicating which row it wants to draw, which row in which section it's trying to draw. Okay, now we run it again. And then you will see that it shows red, green, yellow. Okay, yellow is missing a W. Let's do that here. Red, green, yellow, and blue. Okay, so you could see that it's very straightforward. We are red, green, yellow, and blue, and you have your table view already set up. Okay, it's very simple table view, right? Now something to pay attention to is that the idea of DQ. So it tries to get you a reusable cell. Why this is important? With every single row that it's going to draw, it needs a cell to draw it. So this means that if you have a list, say you are looking at your emails and you have 1,000 emails. So basically on the screen, you're only going to see, say, 10 of them. They're visible. And as you scroll up, the top one that is visible goes into a pool of reusable cells. Then the one that is going to show up at the bottom will say, instead of creating a new UI table view cell, it will take one of the UI table view cells from the pool, the reusable pool, and then pass it on here through this method. And then you can reuse these cells, and that of course will enable an efficient mechanism of memory management. Instead of creating a new cell for a new view for each cell you want to draw, you can reuse the cells from that pool. Okay, so let's recap a little bit. What we did is we created a cell, okay, and then that cell we specified. And if you go back here, we look at the cell, we specified an identifier for that cell, and that's the identifier that we used here when we want a DQ. Okay, now because this cell was added to the table view, this attributes the cell or associates the cell with this table view. Okay, now another thing to consider, let's say I would like to click when the user clicks. So what I would do is I would like to explore what other methods I could use or the delegate provides. So I could say table view, just type table view, and you could say did select row at. Here it is. So when you click on something, you select it, right? So what I will do is I will say I want to print what color did you print. Okay, so I'll say print colors of index path dot row. So basically that's to indicate that it was selected. Okay, so now we run it again. You will see now that when I run it, okay, red, you could see red is selected, green is selected, yellow is selected, blue is selected, and so on. Okay, so you can retrieve which color using the index path. The index path passes to the color. Okay, so now we looked at how we can click and respond to the click, how we create a very simple cell. In the next videos, we'll look at more complicated aspects of the table view, but that's mainly the table view. Okay, something also to pay attention to is that, remember that when we clicked on the table view, we had to specify the data source and the delegate by dragging the outlet from here into the view controller, which is this yellow dot, okay, for each one of them. Okay, I hope this was helpful. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.